Welcome to this primary forum for the Alder candidates for District 8 in Stevens Point. My name is Jo Sizer. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Stevens Point area, and I will serve as the moderator for this forum. The Common Council is made up of alders and the mayor. A Common Council serves as a legislative arm of city government. It decides policy, enacts ordinances, resolutions, and motions, and approves and amends the annual budget, which this year is $23 million. The council levies taxes and enters into contracts on behalf of the city. There are 11 city districts represented on the Common Council, and public meetings occur every third Monday of the month. Alders sit on committees such as finance, personnel, public protection, and public works, and which take place one after the other on the second Monday. Plan Commission meets monthly as well. Alders receive a salary of $5,300 per year. As we begin, we have some questions set up by the League of Women Voters, but we welcome your questions as well. We do that by writing it on little cards, and we have ushers present to hand out these cards if you want to write a question. So look around, there are ushers on the side. Just raise your hand if you want to receive a piece of paper and a pencil, and then those get screened for duplication and for clarity by our screeners. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes for an opening and closing statement and 2 minutes to respond to each question, with the exception if we just have a little time, we might have even some more flexibility there. And so I will repeat the questions as requested. And the order will be rotated among the candidates. The candidates for District 8 are, from the right, from my right, Kathy Dugan, Al Prosser, and Lynn Schulist. And we will begin the opening statements with Kathy Dugan. Kathy.
Thank you. Please let me know if you cannot hear me in the back. I'll stand up if I need to project. Are you okay back there? All right. I am the incumbent. I am running to be reelected to a second term. I've lived in Stevens. I'll give you a quick biographical thing and then something about my candidacy. But I have lived in Stevens Point for 43 years, I believe. I've lived in the District 8 for 24 years. I raised a couple of kids here. Went to UWSP, got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree there, and then became a teacher. I retired from teaching at UWSP. I want to tell you in the short time allotted what I'm most proud of in my first term. Now, it's not even been 2 years yet. I don't know, it's 1 year and 3/4 or something. But I am very proud of 5 different things, and let me try to run through them. One of the things I promised to do was improve communication between the Alder and City Council and District 8 residents. And I think I have got a good start on that. I have held beginning meetings for neighborhood associations.
Kathy, hit the red.
Oh my gosh.
So 1.5 minutes, I remind you. Al Prosser.
Good afternoon. We all have heard the saying that you can tell when a politician is lying because their lips are moving. If you ask my wife, she'd tell you that's probably not always the case. I've never been a politician, and this is my first attempt to become a politician. I retired as a school administrator, having spent 35 years working in school districts in Wisconsin. I am married, father of 2 children, a wonderful veteran of foreign service. Appreciate being able to serve my country. I thank Kathy for being the alderperson for the past 2 years. She's a very nice lady and indeed handled all of my requests when I made them. My reason for deciding to run for the city council was an editorial that occurred in the Gazette, which said you have to have people willing to run for office. And I think we benefit by having these folks who run for office and having these discussions, because I think through communication, we'll get a better form of government. Thank you.
And next is Lynn Schulist.
Okay. Hello. First off, thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this on. I imagine it takes time, so we all, I'm sure, appreciate that. And thank you everyone in the audience for coming in today. What a great turnout. I'm Lynn Schulist. A little bit about myself. I'm a fifth-generation Polish descendant of central Wisconsin. And like many of you, and I'm sure Kathy and Al would agree, we all care about our community, we care about our district. I have a 16-year-old son. He has a basketball game tonight, otherwise I might have embarrassed him. He does go to SPASH. And I do work in marketing and brand strategy for a large national bank. I'm lucky enough to work remote from home, so I spend a lot of time in at home in District 8. My first experience living in Stevens, and actually I grew up in the Shantytown area and graduated from Rothschild High School. After that, my first experience of living in Stevens Point in the late 90s was as a college student. Boy, were those some fun times. 3 years ago, I decided to boomerang back to Stevens Point with my son because I just love the city, all it has to offer. And boy, did I make the right choice. Why did I want to run? I feel, okay.
Well done. Thank you. So now we'll go to the first question, and this is going to go to Al Prosser to begin. What are unique characteristics of District 8? How are you the best candidate to address the district's needs? And how will you assure that citizens have input in the decisions made by the City Council?
I don't know that I'm necessarily qualified to be the best person, but I'm a willing person. And I think that the way in which you represent District 8 is to get out and meet with folks who actually live in District 8. There are approximately 110 homes in our subdivision, and there are a number of subdivisions in District 8. And so rather than sit at home, I have retired time, I'll be out visiting with the residents of the district and seeking their input and their concerns relative to what's taking place within the city with regards to District 8.
Thank you. Lynn Schulist.
Okay. Well, during my campaigning, I had the opportunity to ice skate down many of your yards in my sorrel boots and, talk to you. And I appreciate everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to meet with me. I have a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and a lot of desire. I hope you can see that, to really get out and meet with constituents, whatever mode of communication that may be. Being a marketer, not everyone wants to be communicated the same way, whether it's listening sessions, which Kathy Dugan has done a great job with, neighborhood meetings, email, knocking on your door, phone call, social, you name it. I think really taking what they have to say and synthesizing it to what the particular problem is at hand. One thing that has come up a lot, not by everyone, but at least 60% of the 100 homes that I actually were able to speak with people were the recent reassessment and increase in taxes. I take that very seriously in order to, I can't change what happened in the past, but ensure fiscal responsibility and that we spend our dollars well and do whatever possible, realistically possible, to prevent taxes from going up again, which maybe not be realistic, but at least as minimally as possible. Thank you.
Kathy Dugan.
Would you repeat that?
What are the unique characteristics of District 8? How are you the best candidate to address the district's needs, and how will you assure that citizens have input in the decisions made by the City Council?
Thank you. well, as I began to say, I wanted to improve communication among District 8 people and the council. And I have indeed done that in a number of ways. And having lived there for close to a quarter of a century, that helps too. I know a lot of people in the district. But neighborhood associations have really taken off. Out of 5, District 8 is very geographically vast, and we can get about 5 distinct neighborhoods from that. We have had 4 meetings in people's homes just to see what they're interested in. Do they want to get together? Do they want to have a united voice to city council? So I've done 4 out of 5, got 1 more to go. I also have had, as Lynn Schulis mentioned, listening sessions, informational sessions. I've either scheduled them or the mayor has scheduled them, but all of them have included getting the word out to people and having them come to hear what the city staff has to say, what we want to hear also what they have to say. And so we've had, I think, 5 of those in the not even 2 years that we've been doing this. And then multiple phone calls, multiple email conversations. Mr. Prosser and I have frequently emailed. We're good conversationalists in terms. All of that then goes back to the committees I'm on, and currently I'm on personnel and public protection. It goes back to the council then also. And as one person says, I don't always agree with the way you vote, one of my constituents in District 8, but you've really represented us well. So I think that's true. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question, and Lynn Schulis will begin. Do you support the City of Stevens Point moving ahead with plans to build its own city government building on land recently acquired on Water Street?
At this point in time, I do. I had a very long, detailed conversation with our city treasurer, who's actually in the back, understanding the dollars and cents behind it. Hopefully I can get through this in 2 minutes or summarize why I agree with it. Either way, we're going to put money into the current city-county building or build a new city hall. Both are going to be several $1,000,000. There's a good chance that the cost could be higher than originally anticipated with the city-county building. Knowing with older buildings, sometimes you get in and you find more things wrong. With that being said, there is a plan for the difference in that amount between the 2 options to use an existing capital budget to offset that cost, so it wouldn't, going either from the city building to, or city county building to the new building really wouldn't affect the pocketbook any differently. We also have the guarantee of a new building with new up-to-date things. We have control over maintenance. We hope there is going to be some cost savings with utilities down the road, and we hope it will last for 50 years plus. Thank you.
And then next we have Kathy Dugan.
Yes. Well, this has been on our agenda on council for some time now. We've been thinking about it in different ways. I voted to purchase property. I voted to have them have us take a look at an architectural survey of it to see what we might build. I also have argued for, but not voted for, looking at the possibility of staying in our county city building. And the reason for that is simply that I'm an environmentalist, a proud environmentalist, a proud preservationist, and that is one heck of a well-built building. And you would not really want to see it demolished, and it won't be. However, the county has not proceeded quickly enough for us to see exactly how we could fit into that building. You know, right now, we can't fit into it well. We need more space, a good deal more space, and we need to have space where we can grow. We need to have a cushion of growth. So, because the county hasn't really let us know quickly, we don't know whether we can fit in. We don't know how they want to remodel this. If we did, we might have more discussion with the county, because I would love to still be in that building. Mayor Wiesa said the same thing. It's quite a building, and it has wonderful finishes, as you know, marble and granite, and the steel, the structural steel is amazing. There's no way we can build anything like that. However, as Lynn Shula said, the costs will be about the same either way. Possibly might be a little bit more on the county side.
Thank
so
you.
It's very likely we'll go with building new.
Thank you. Next, Al Prosser.
I could go either way on this issue in terms of the cost issue, but my concern with the issue is that there are two things that are missing here. It's the ongoing strain between the city and the county and the relationship that exists there. And I don't know that we've worked hard enough to try and push that partnership along. And the other thing is, it's somewhat is inconsistent in the message that the city sends. Part of my property tax also goes to the county. And so I have to be concerned about county issues as well. And is there a possibility that somewhere along the line, as a city person, I might end up paying a little bit more, paying twice for the same investment? We've told the county on a number of occasions that we want everything downtown. And then yet when we go as a city, we don't necessarily stay consistent with that message. And so I can understand if the county supervisors sometimes wish to do things a little differently rather than see everything downtown Stevens Point. I think it's valuable for us to keep things downtown. I think it's, we need a vital downtown, but at the same time, we can't send a negative message out in the opposite direction. So at this point, I think it's more important that we foster that proper relationship with the county. I think you're absolutely right. The building we have is a treasure. If we can't remediate that building, then it is true that costs will probably be no different. It will actually probably be more expensive to go into an older situation than a brand new one and build new. But I have concerns around the building rather than just whether we should go on our own or not. And also, I'm also concerned about when we go looking for property, we have an awful lot of vacant property and empty property sitting in the Stevens Point area, and perhaps we could find property that doesn't cost quite as much as riverfront property when we go to purchase property.
Thank you. The next question will begin with Kathy Dugan. There are tools to calm traffic for safe and efficient driving. Do you support restriping lanes into turn lanes and traffic lanes in some areas of Stevens Point?
That is a loaded one, as most people know. We've had more than one meeting on this topic in District 8, and I have had people contact me by letter, U.S. mail, email, over the phone. At our last meeting, December 10th, or December 19th, that was the main event, Stanley Street. And should we go from 4 lanes down to 3, which would be 2 traffic lanes and 1 turning lane, 1 left turning lane. You know, in the beginning, because I'm a bicyclist and I'm a pedestrian, when this first came up a year or more ago, I thought, well, let's give it a try. It won't be that costly if we restripe a little, and it works in some other places. I'm aware of that. However, after hearing from a number of constituents and after the December meeting, I don't think that necessarily going 4 to 3 would work certainly at every stretch of Stanley Street. We have people who are very concerned about the area near Green Avenue. very, very difficult intersection. Well, that really, I believe that's in DOT jurisdiction, and we can't do much about it. We can tell DOT that it would be important for us to get a roundabout in there, but the state isn't giving us money for that sort of thing right now. That's what's planned down the line. Then we've got the Quick Trip intersection, which is very, very difficult. And the traffic load, the ATD, the average ADT daily traffic is heavy up there.
Thank you. Okay. Al Prosser.
I don't, in the people that I've talked to in District 8, I have not run into one person yet who thinks the restriping of Stanley Street should take place.
Right.
My concern is, I guess I'm willing to give it an opportunity, but I think if we're going to do that, we need to put a sunset date. In other words, we need to revisit the issue in 4 or 5 years or 3 years, and then see if it's working or not. And I think you could gather that information very quickly from the people who live along Stanley Street and the people who travel it. I also think we need to be speaking with the major employers who have employees who funnel in following through on Stanley Street, that being Century, the hospital, the university. There are a number of major employers in there who would tend to put people on the road at a couple of times a day when traffic volumes will be much heavier. So I think we need to talk to them about that as well. I support having opportunity for bicyclists, but I think in the case of Stanley Street, we really should, at least at the very least, put a sunset so that we have to come back and revisit the issue and see if we've made the right decision or not.
Thank you. Lynn Schulist.
Could you please repeat the question?
There are tools to calm traffic for safe and efficient driving. Do you support restriping lanes into turn lanes and traffic lanes in some areas of Stevens Point?
At this point in time, I haven't seen a presentation that I would agree to this. I know Ms. Dugan and Mr. Prosser mentioned Stanley Street, and right off the bat, knowing all of the people that live on Stanley Street, feedback I've received on, the presentation was not the best idea. It wouldn't work for them. I am open to other ideas that can open up a break in traffic on Stanley Street specifically. I know a few years ago there was discussion on Business 51 to turn from a 4 to a 3, similar to Stanley Street. At this point, I feel very uncomfortable with that option as well, knowing the traffic during rush hour when school lets out, people coming to and from Century. Traffic could back up substantially and create a lot of frustration, including myself. I would be open to listening to presentations in other areas of Stevens Point. Maybe it's North Point Drive or somewhere else to see if that's more appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. This will be possibly the last question before your closing. Unless the answers are shorter, maybe we can sneak in another one. I would just add that. So the next question is going to start with Al Prosser. How important is it to restore the Fox Theater?
How important is it to restore the Fox Theater? It's a good question. There are other theater availabilities in the city, and yet at the same time, a theater can bring and certainly would help to support the downtown and making the downtown more vital. We also have a new hotel with a new restaurant in it. More restaurants around town, bring more people downtown, more activity. I think any time that we can have activities in the city, it's a benefit to the city. At the same time, the city spent an awful lot of money acquiring property over there to build a mall. Then we spent an awful lot of money over there taking down that same mall that we built up. So it's an area where in terms of expenditures, I haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about it, but it is going to cost a tidy sum to restore the theater. So hopefully that wouldn't roll back onto the taxpayer. Hopefully we can do that through a private fundraising activity or whatever else, and I know there's a group already working on that. I know there's a retired university professor that I've worked with over there who spent a good deal of time on it, and I trust his opinion, and I would be happy to sit down and talk with him and then share that information back with my residents if I'm elected.
Thank you. Lynn Schulist.
I think we can all agree in this room, or most of us can agree, that the Fox Theater is a jewel in our community and holds a lot of memories for many, you know, as they were growing up or back in the 60s when they were dating. You know, it's an amazing building, but from what I understand, kind of the whole back end when they knocked down the mall was kind of destroyed. So it's not really that big inside in its current state. I think as a community, we should look at the possibilities, and I believe there is a group who is doing that. Looking at the city budget right now, I don't think there's room in the budget for the city to contribute to its restoration. So in short, I'm open to having some sort of, you know, revitalization of that building, whatever that vision may be, but have it done on a donor basis and not cost the city anything. Thank you.
I've moved about District 8. The one thing that's least understood is the recent increase in taxes and why are taxes so high. We haven't done a good job of educating the citizens about why we have to have the money that we take from them. Having been a school administrator for a good number of years, I understand that. It's an educational situation. I think we need to better educate the voters within this district. And then I think they'll come along and support us. I think that I can help with that. I also have spent many years working with politicians in Madison, and I think many of the questions that we face today have answers that sit in Madison. And eventually, the political change will come about in Madison, and we need to be primed and ready and be working with the folks down there in Madison to help solve some of these problems. We cannot tag all the answers that we have to the questions that we have to the value of the property in our district.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lynn Schulist.
Thank you. I feel that I would bring a unique lens and what many of my supporters have stated, new blood, and a diversity to the City Council. I have a very diverse work experience working in corporate America, business negotiations, managing multi-million-dollar budgets, bringing marketing to life, managing multifunctional teams, which I think would be unique and hopefully help the city and the council. I have a strong desire to serve my community and ensure prosperity for today and years to come. I've been told I'm a good listener, and as I said earlier, will take feedback into actionable results. If elected, I pledge to serve and represent the constituents of District 8 fairly and in a timely manner. I would also promote transparency and communication via multiple modes of communication, whatever suits you best. I also pledge to bring an open mind, open ears, and listen to all sides of the situation before making decisions and representing the values of District 8 constituents. I have no personal agenda. I think we all want to make Stevens Point the best place it can be, and that is the reason I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Dugan.
I want to touch just briefly on a couple of things that weren't in the questions. I want you to know that we've had wonderful economic development in the city, robust new growth, and I am so proud to be a part of that. At the Plan Commission meeting this week, the mayor said that in 2017, our development and the value that it gives us was 4 times higher than the recent 3 or 4 years. We have not all big projects, small projects, big projects, and next year we're going to have a really big project with the Century building going up. We're doing really well. And of course, when we have robust new growth, that means we get more city services. That's the way we're tied to the, it's a restriction, it's a constraint that the state puts on us. I also want to tell you that fiscally, we have a wonderful long-term capital budget. We finally got one of those set up with our controller treasurer. We have a careful borrowing plan. The city policy is not to exceed 60% of whatever the legal limit is. We tie, this is what our controller says, we tie the amount of new borrowing for capital projects to what we're repaying in principal. Thus, total level of debt does not increase. We're in good shape. And there are lots of other things I could say. I know.
Thank you. This concludes the forum for Stevens Point Alders. Primary voting day is Tuesday, February 20th, 2018. Thank you, candidates and audience, for your participation. Let's show our appreciation.